In Revelation 18, verse 23, it says, the light of a lamp shall not shine in you anymore, and the voice of a bridegroom and the bride shall not be heard in you anymore. For your merchants were the great men of the earth, for by your sorcery were all the nations of the world deceived. The word sorcery is the word Pharmakeia. Babylon 3.0. Have you noticed that your Food and Drugs Administration is in the same place? Because your food is not a food. That's why you keep going back to it. You see, nobody likes McDonald's because McDonald's brings pain every single time. It makes you happy on the lips, but it adds a lifetime on the hips. But it's the drug. It's the Pharmakeia. It's why people can't stay in church longer than 20 minutes, but they can stay and binge watch Netflix for 4 hours. Because Pharmakeia has entered them. And the number one Pharmakeia we all have in common is the Pharmakeia called dopamine. Whether you're poison, I need you to know that smoking is just a device. Drugs is just a device. Masturbation is just a device. Pornography is just a device. The vice is dopamine. We all want dopamine. Even God knows we want dopamine. So God said, the dopamine of the Lord is your strength. If you can get my joy, you'll be strong in every season of your life. And Satan knows you need joy too. So Satan will present you with counterfeit fuel. 70% of the world's population are on mobile phones. Mobile phones that are hired by drug administrators and doctors and scientists to make this phone the most addictive device in the world. Satan, through the mobile phone, has found a way to master the art of moving all of your vices into one device. Here at my fingertips, I have access to everything I need. And if I don't have it, I just hit order and it will come to my house next day delivery. And if you got a Prime subscription, same day delivery. I get my food on here, I get my drinks on here, I get my porn on here, I get my drugs on here, I book my flights on here, I check in with my boyfriend on here, I sext on here. Everything happens on here. My kids have now become drug addicts. It's getting quiet in this house. And I am watching them binge. They can't even focus in church anymore. Meanwhile, the Muslim's child is bowing down next to his dad. We are stringing out our children on drugs, crying when they get addicted when we're the ones that handed them the device. 90% of the world's population have overdosed on this drug. It's called dopamine, the joy drug. Babylon 3.0 is entirely a dopamine economy. It says, give me your freedom and I will give you endless hedonistic joy, sexual pleasure at your fingertips. If you've had enough of the digital version, you can even put a thing over your face and watch it virtually. I will give you every pleasure you need, and I'll even create COVID so that you can keep practicing it. Hacking the place responsible for gathering language and literature is Babylon 3.0. Babylon 1.0, it was already unified. Babylon 2.0 had to teach it. Babylon 3.0 wants to hack it and override it. It's called the brain. In Babylon 3.0, Satan isn't just hacking the brain, he's rewriting it and turning it into a beast, and then transferring vital human intelligence and uploading it to artificial intelligence so that man becomes a subspecies of its own invention. Brain hacking is any deliberate use of technology, design, or pharmacology to trigger predictable neurochemical responses, usually to influence attention, emotion, and decision-making. In tech culture, it refers to the way apps, algorithms, and notifications are engineered to keep you scrolling. In neuroscience, it's the optimization of reward pathways, especially dopamine, to reinforce habits. In pharmacology, it's the use of drugs or supplements to boost focus, motivation, or pleasure, biohacking the brain's chemistry. When I first came to America, I was 16 years old, and I would watch television, and every time on television, it would go to an ad right in the middle of the best part of Mission Impossible. And the first ad that will come out, buy Zofratofifol. Zofratofifol helped my backache. I've been having backache for 15 years, but thank God to Zofratofifol, my backache is gone. I can't play golf, but thanks to Zofratofifol, I can now play golf. Check out my swing. My kids used to tell me that I was embarrassing, but thanks to Zofratofifol, my farting is now under control. Zofratofifol, get yours now. Side effects include hairy tongue, suicide, and death. You see, I came from a country where you're not allowed to sell pharmaceuticals online. Here in America, everybody's selling the latest drug. And we're taking these drugs because a doctor told you should take it. And now we're feeding it to our children, not so that they can learn in school, but so they can be docile enough to get through a class. It's getting quiet in this house. Dopamine is not just pleasure itself. I wonder what would happen if you stopped saying that your kid has ADHD and you just take him off the iPad for a month. I wonder! You see, the devil doesn't want you to hear this word, but you will know the truth and the truth will make you free. Dopamine is not just pleasure itself. Scientists have discovered that dopamine is the signal that communicates to the brain to seek more. It's not the drug of satisfaction, it's the drug of pursuit. Dopamine will get a young lady to read Twilight. She'll read Twilight 1 and she'll get a huge hit. Soft pornography, because the pornography of women is words, man. Yours is images, theirs is words. So don't think that they're just reading the book Twilight because they like the book. They're reading it because they're watching their version of pornography and they've convinced themselves that their version is more sterile than yours. It's getting quiet in this house. And then they read book 2 because they want to get a bigger hit. They get to book 3, and by the time they get to book 3, there's something called the law of diminishing returns. In other words, the more dopamine I produce, the less dopamine I produce. So I have to do more just to get a bigger hit. But dopamine is not the drug of doing, dopamine is the drug of returning. So even if I get a less hit, I will still do the same behavior again because I'm telling myself each time that this is the time I'm going to get a bigger hit. Now I have to go from Twilight Saga to Wolf Sagas to reading about, now I have to upgrade to 50 Shades of Grey. Because the first time I read the book, it gave me a hit, but now I'm reading it, I'm not getting the same hit. In Babylon 3.0, dopamine becomes limbic capitalism. It's how the brain, the dopamine receptors are hacked in an individual so that they're no longer in church, even when they're in church. And the Bible says the time will come where America will no longer endure sound doctrine. Why? Because you don't have the joy to endure sound doctrine. You need a TikTok. When dopamine fills you, there's something else that happens. When dopamine fills you in overdrive and it's not working anymore, the hit's not working anymore, soon you begin to feel like nothing's working. Once you stop receiving pleasure in one way, the brain stops receiving pleasure in every way. And now prayer is no longer pleasurable. Church is no longer pleasurable. People are no longer pleasurable. Because what happens scientifically, if I can just talk about it for a minute, then I'll sit down, is when you are in overdrive of pleasure, which Satan feeds you, there's another side of your receptor that's also in the same limbic system of the brain. God put it there. The same limbic system that produces dopamine, that gives you pleasure, is the same system, the same highway that gives you pain. So the body, in an attempt to balance, will offset you with an equal amount of pain. So every attempt to avoid pain simply creates pain. Satan feeds you pleasure knowing that at the end of that extreme pleasure, you're going to face extreme pain. At the end of that masturbation binge, you're going to face extreme depression, guilt, shame, fear. You're not going to come to church anymore because you're going to be afraid you're going to be caught out. At the end of those drugs you've used, you're going to face extreme anxiety. And anxiety, whether it's opiates, antidepressants, antihistamines, or whatever pharmakeia you've been drugged up with, anxiety is simply the body's response to not receiving dopamine at the same hit you gave it before. In other words, you're not anxious, you're in withdrawal. I got anxiety. No, you're not got anxiety. You've been hitting yourself with so much dopamine that now you've stopped, you're in withdrawal. And one of the signs of withdrawal from hyperdopamine is anxiety. When I tell people, let's go on a 21-day fast, everybody panics. You know why? Because dopamine has been feeding you for so long, and now it's time to stop the dopamine, and the body starts screaming to you on day one, famine! Famine! And then you get a headache, and now you're panicking. Oh God, I'm dying. And then you Google the symptoms, and the symptoms say, yep, you're dead. You're pretty much a dead man tomorrow. Oh my God, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. You're not dying, you're in withdrawal. And please help me. I'm not trying to tell somebody, hey, stop the antidepressants and stop the antihistamines, because I'm not a doctor. I can't say that. Because there's some people, I knew somebody who stopped drinking alcohol and went teetotal and died from stopping. Because there are some hits that get you so trapped in a system that you gotta wean yourself out of it with a good clinical psychiatrist, with a good medical doctor, and with good self-awareness. You got to know, you see, the reason most of us can fast 21 days is because I do something with you all. I make you self-aware. I tell you, day 1, this is gonna happen. Day 2, this is gonna happen. Day 3. So when it happens, you're not panicking. You know, oh, I'm in day 5. I'm in homeostasis. Oh, I get this. Oh, this is okay. Yeah, my head's gonna hurt for a while, but it's gonna clear up soon. In Babylon 3.0, Satan begins to drug you so he can replace you. He drugs you so that you're a drugged up functional parent. He drugs you with alcohol. He drugs you with weed. He drugs you with cocaine. And every time you're getting the law of diminishing returns, he knows you're gonna keep going back to it. And when you get free, then he conditions you. The body responds to conditioning. Dopamine spikes to conditioning as if it was the real thing. In other words, you can be free from something, but because something reminded you of that something, it spikes the dopamine response again. There's a reason in Alcoholics Anonymous they say don't go back to ever drinking alcohol again. If you're an alcoholic, never return. Because by the time Satan is done with you, scientifically, scientists have discovered it actually changes your brain entirely to the point that it is an irreversible change. That means if you stop drinking for 20 years and you go back to it, you'll spike like you spiked 20 years ago. Because now your brain has changed. The Bible calls that a reprobate mind. It's what happens when the brain itself can no longer even be saved. Sin has changed your biochemistry. And the only way to be free is to be teetotal. So now I've said this, how do I get free from this system? I'm so glad you asked. Number 1, and very important, you must return to the house. You must. Don't ask for freedom whilst you're acting like Satan. What does Satan do? Satan, the Bible says, when a demon has gone out of man, it goes through dry places, solitary places. Demons love being alone. The reason you like being by yourself is because there's a demon in you that can only practice what it practices in isolation. Because the Bible says it's seeking rest. That means it's restless. That means anxiety has become your normal. Therefore, isolation has become your new drug. There are 2 reasons why people isolate. Number 1, you isolate because the Spirit of God is in you and you want to pray. Number 2, which is a big one, the Bible says often the demon would seize him and drive him into a solitary place. Demons, when they seize you, the sign of their seizure is they'll drive you to want to be by yourself. You must be committed to returning to the house. When the prodigal son went away and he spent all his money and he did all his stuff, the Bible says, and he began to long for pig's food. That's what dopamine does to you. Soon it stops feeding you on pleasant things. it starts feeding you on desperate alternatives. There's some people who can't afford cocaine anymore, so they have to do cannabis. Then they have to do glue. Can't afford a prostitute anymore. Now you have to watch pornography. Can't afford OnlyFans anymore. Now Satan is giving you pig's food. And now you're longing for pig's food. God's sheep eating pig food. You must be committed to not let shame keep you from the house. And I mean this. You must be committed. What did the prodigal son say? I will return to the house. Maybe he'll make me a servant. That's what shame taught him. Shame taught him, my father's going to judge me if I go back to the house. Are you telling me I've got to get back to church? Absolutely. You've got to get back to a living church. And no matter how much Satan is wrestling with you, you must refuse to let him keep you from the Father's house. Why? Because unaccountable deliverance is a problem. Unaccountable deliverance is a problem. Number 2, acknowledge that an appetite for pig food requires discipleship and not just deliverance. You fed pig's food for so long, you have to understand now you have the appetite for pig food. So now you've got to go into discipleship, not deliverance. Number 3, a commitment not to partner with your demon in isolation practices. Number 4, a knowing that no matter what you do to chain yourself, you'll keep going back. The Bible says he was chained hand and foot, but he broke out of the chains. Keep telling yourself one more time, every time, because you're chained. You need deliverance. Deliverance breaks the chains. Discipleship breaks the habit. John Piper said this, one of the great uses of Twitter and Facebook will be to prove at the last day that prayerlessness was not from lack of time. We got people who can't enjoy the presence of God anymore because they're hooked on other joys. They have other idols. That's why they're looking, going, oh my goodness, hurry up, because they got a dopamine waiting at home for them. My question today is this: do you want to be free? Do you want to get better? Or are you hooked on the friends with benefits? Do you want to be free? Because freedom takes time. America, freedom takes the kind of time that can't fit into a 1 hour, 30-minute or 45-minute sermon. Freedom takes commitment. Freedom takes covenant. Freedom takes a people who are going from deliverance to deliberate discipleship. Freedom is what happens when everything in your flesh says run, but something in your spirit says stay.